I say that hospitals should do the sick no harm. And I've been doing infection control and prevention modelling from an engineering and mathematical perspective to try and understand how the environment affects airborne and surface contamination. We found that in context of a single versus four bedroom, which is a globally important question, that actually single bedrooms offer significant surface contamination reduction and therefore reducing the risk of infection transmission compared to four-bed bays. So I'm able to use computational simulation and supercomputers to try and understand how particles released from a patient with, for example, C. diff, how do they deposit onto surfaces inside hospital single rooms and four-bed bays. And we know that approximately 20% of infections are transmitted through contact via direct and indirect methods, and that healthcare workers may then touch surfaces and transmit those germs towards patients. Well, we understand at the University of Leeds that the airflow is a very important aspect of reducing infection transmission. So it's important to maintain ventilation systems at least at 6 air changes an hour, which is the HTM guideline, and also maintain isolation rooms at their appropriate pressurization. In addition, it's important also to maintain sinks and other areas in clinical zones that are free from biofilm and bioaerosol. The way forward is to use computational simulation to predict both the movement of people inside hospitals and also the movement of infection in particles and how the airflow affects these movement of particles. At the University of Leeds, we're starting an exciting project which puts many hundreds of tiny sensors into patient rooms to take temperature, humidity and particle measurements in real time and feeds these then into simulations. And using computers, we can actually forecast indoor air quality and the risk of patient infection in real time.
And in areas where we found an equal importance on air, good air sterilization and air purification, the infection rates tend to drop. So, infection connection. We just put a little diagram together to show how it's all interconnected. And what I've seen lots of diagrams of is hands and surfaces. And now we want to change that a little bit to bring in the air as well. So the direct contact and indirect contact, and as we saw in Marco's presentation, the droplet nuclei and droplets and how they spread into other areas from somebody coughing, and how interrelated this is. And now imagine if, in that area, you're forcing the air into an air purification, air sterilization device, instead of allowing it to settle on people, on surfaces. And just for this moment, forgetting about the respiratory infection, but just that surface and people contamination. So, real-time protection. And I think that sterilizing your hands and cleaning the surfaces is preventative, or sometimes going in and cleaning up when something happens, is reactive. But real-time protection, when you have the right equipment in there that's taking in whatever is airbound, that real-time protection is, for me, such an important role for people to understand of how it works. And looking at simulations, which we saw just with Marco earlier, it'd be great to then see a simulation with the right technology in there and showing how airflow flows around the room, and before it settles onto surfaces or people or they breathe it in, how it goes into the right technology and then gets sterilized. So, the perception of clean air. What we did last year is we asked 500 people from the UK who, when they visit a healthcare facility or a doctor's, and they sit in the waiting room, are they concerned about cross-contamination? And 94% of those 500 people said yes. 23% of those people said they were so concerned about it, they would only go in a dire emergency, when they really had to. Now, what are they concerned about? Are they concerned about the hands or the surfaces, or are they concerned about the air they're breathing? And what we've established is also the psychological benefits of providing a clean air environment when you're sat there and somebody's spluttering or sneezing or obviously ill, and you think, I've come in with a sore elbow, I'm going to leave with the flu. If you've got that positive message in that waiting area or environment, how much happier are the people going to be when they actually get through to see that medical professional? How much happier are the people who are sat at reception dealing with these people going to be, knowing that this part of something I've got no control over currently is now being sorted? So we share clean air is something that we're establishing around the world as a positive message for any, not just healthcare environment, but for anybody that installs the right air purification and sterilization technology. Okay. Our partners are based in South Korea, and they're extremely successful in South Korea for many reasons. One of the reasons is the MERS outbreak, which happened as well in Korea as well as Saudi Arabia. And one of the hospitals which was responsible for spreading MERS is the Samsung Hospital in South Korea. Now, the Samsung Hospital in South Korea is one of the best for infection prevention and control. You don't touch any handles in that hospital. They're all foot pedals. You know, they're really advanced in their infection prevention and control. But one thing they don't have is real-time air purification and sterilization. They have lots of air changes which come through. Their air purification system is fantastic, but they still were responsible for a huge spread of MERS. And as a result, lots of other hospitals bought sterilization and purification equipment and had them installed. So we're actually planning to work with some professionals in Saudi Arabia on MERS prevention and on the importance of real-time air purification and sterilization. We've seen pictures like this in the news quite often recently in the UK. And this is air pollution in London. So there was a report recently which showed illegal levels of toxic air in 70% of medical centres in central London. Now, air pollution's obviously a big problem in the UK. If I went into a medical centre, I would expect that I'm not going to suffer with that problem there as well, because this is somewhere I'm going for my health. So for us, what we look at in this instance is, if anybody's going to spend good money dealing with airborne pathogens, an air pollutant, then why not spend that money dealing with all air pollution, as well as nitrogen dioxide from traffic fumes, as well as chemicals, as well as VOCs, as well as allergens. So now's the sales pitch bit. Now's talking about RADIC8 technology. So RADIC8 technology in the healthcare settings. We mentioned that we share clean air, positive affirmation for anybody who sat in a waiting room area or anywhere within a healthcare setting. They can see immediately that, oh, I don't have to worry about airborne cross-contamination. We're not going to solve it 100%, but we'll greatly reduce it. It's a diagram of a typical office, not really a medical setting, but we've done this to show the amount of pollutants, without even looking at airborne pathogens, that you would come into contact with on a daily basis. So things like mold and dust and fungi, and mold's a good point, because as we seal up our buildings all around the world, we've got more sick building syndrome, we've got more mold happening in all areas, we've got more respiratory conditions in younger people and older people than we ever have before, and this is directly linked to indoor air pollution. So VOCs from carpets, paints, furnishings, high human density, CO2, ultrafine particles from all kinds of things, chemicals and VOCs from cleaning products, you know, the pollutants we don't think about, which are in healthcare settings as well as airborne pathogens. So what we do to solve pollution as a whole, we've broken it down into two halves. So the first half, which is extremely important, is air purification. So this is the bit you'll find everywhere. A box with a fan and filters. And it's important because you need to take those bigger particles out of the air, dust, skin, even bacteria, mold, fungi, you can catch in this section. But then the particles that escape here, including viruses, toxic gas, certain VOCs, what happens to them? Do they just keep going round there until they're breathed in? So we have the second part of the solution, which is the sterilization chamber. And you might be familiar with air sterilizers within medical settings. You might see UV lights, which are great for when you've got time to sterilize an area. But for us, it's important to get as much airflow as we can through a system. So first, let's catch the particles we can catch. Second, let's put a good fan in there so that we get as much airflow as possible. So we see that if airflow goes into the system before it lands on surfaces, lands on hands, or you breathe it in. And then the next part is we've designed and built an air sterilization chamber that if anything escapes here and gets through that chamber, it has to be neutralized, or as best as we can with one air pass. So we use a system of ultraviolet lights and titanium dioxide tubes. And we've got great test results for all respiratory viruses, even NO2, which is particularly difficult to deal with, we're 99.5% effective on. Yeah, so before this summary, I'm just going to show a small video of how easy it is to install into a small healthcare setting. It's got...
Healthcare...
you can play it. It speaks for itself.
Acquired infections are a concern the world over. The majority of people visiting healthcare facilities are concerned about cross-contamination, especially in waiting rooms. Are they more concerned about their hands and surfaces or about the air they're sharing? The RADIC8 virus killer range of air sterilizers is the most efficient and cost-effective way of eradicating airborne pathogens. The virus killer VK002 unit is perfect for waiting rooms, and all RADIC8 installations come with We Share Clean Air positive advertising to put patients' minds at ease. With a series of filters for particulate matter, a powerful fan for maximum airflow, and the RADIC8 sterilization chamber for neutralizing germs, viruses, mold, and fungi, waiting rooms can be the safe resting place that they ought to be. The Virus Killer VK Blue units are ideal for nurses' rooms, surgeries, examination rooms, and bathrooms, compact, and can be wall-hung or surface-stood. The RADIC8 patented sterilization technology within the Virus Killer VK Blue will keep staff and patients safe and healthy. In most circumstances, the RADIC8 technology is available on a small monthly lease payment, and with reduced staff absenteeism, better attendance rates, positive PR, better staff retention and recruitment, and the ability to reduce healthcare-acquired infections, RADIC8 is actually a big cost saving. The RADIC8 technology is used and trusted in thousands of healthcare settings, so doctors, dentists, hospitals, healthcare facilities, and care homes contact RADIC8 today and join the clean air revolution. We share clean air. Do you?
Okay, but a bit salesy at the end there, but you know that's just a tad. Yeah. So to summarise, is hands and surface cleaning alone as effective as it should be? It's important to catch and neutralise airborne pathogens before they contaminate surfaces, before they contaminate people, before we breathe them in. And the right technology can provide real-time protection and an ongoing clean air environment. Also, you know, free from traffic pollution where it mounts in cities. That's it from me. Thank you very much.